Welcome to the Gangsta Rap Odyssey. This episode, I wanted to do 9 undeniable records. I picked 9 records that really, got nothing to do with each other. There's really no rhyme or reason to the list. I just looked at it and thought, you know what? The only thing I can say about these records is that they're just undeniable. You know, they have a moment in time where they made an impact. Some of them tattooed the planet, some of them not so much. But either way, in my opinion, they're records that you got to hear once in your lifetime. They are just undeniable to me. This is an opinion piece, of course, whatever. But I think these records are dope. I want to just briefly talk about them, not do a real big review. So if you like gangsta shit, these records definitely belong in your library. Hey, before we get started, hit that subscribe button if you like the channel. Check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review. I guess all that helps. And without further ado, let's get started. Album number 1, I'm going to go with The Game, Jesus Piece, which came out in 2012. This one's kind of out of left field because I haven't really talked about The Game that much on this channel. I don't even have an episode on any of his records or anything. He doesn't really make my rotation too much, though I know he's got a couple good albums out there at least, you know, like the documentary. There's some good shit on there, I heard, and maybe, is there a documentary part 2 or something? I don't know. But this one right here, I heard back in the day, must have been around 2012, and I think I was like stoned out of my mind or something, so it was a long time ago. But I never went back to it until just a couple years ago, and I thought it was fucking good. You know, it was pretty good. Enough that it hit my rotation more often than I would like to admit, being somebody who doesn't really bump the game too much. Producers include Black Metaphor, Cool and Dre, Kanye West. Kanye West is a guess. I might be wrong here. Let me see here. Kanye West and Common. That was Cause Minuik and the Maven Boys. Cool and Dre, very interesting to have Cool and Dre on here. Amadeus. There's a couple different editions out here of this record. You know, one for iTunes. Then there's a deluxe edition with the bonus tracks. That's kind of crucial to this review here. It's not really a review, just these revisit, this re-up, whatever, man. The source gave this 4.5 mics, and it had some controversy on it, you know, around the cover. That's why you can see 2 different covers on here, which is kind of confusing. I've never seen the black and white cover of the album anywhere. I saw the Jesus Piece one, or the one that has like the Catholic glass, which kind of caught my attention. I think it's a catchy, it's kind of an interesting cover, you know, and if you're somebody just walking by and you see it, you have to like do a double take there. So it's probably doing its job. Is it disrespectful? I don't know. It could be, I guess, maybe a little. I try not to think about it too hard because then I don't end up listening to anything. But, you know, I just want to enjoy the music and the idea that he came up with on this record, which was going through religious overtones, you know, talking about church and kind of like, yeah, he doesn't really behave at church or anything. It's not a gospel record, trust me. I mean, you got Kevin Hart on here too. And they're kind of making fun of some of the aspects of the church that they're visiting, whatever, you know, with keeping change in their pocket for the collection plate and all their ones for the strip club and things like that. But the Jesus Piece idea, I found the topic to be really interesting to do for an entire record. So kind of cool. I never seen the physical CD. I'd love to get my hands on it to see how the artwork pans out on that. I guess I should just look for it, see if they have it. But then I might get the black and white cover. I don't know. Some notable pieces on here. My favorites are Ali Boumaier featuring 2 Chainz and Rick Ross. Jesus Piece with Kanye West and Common. I'm not a Common guy, but damn, he knocked it out of the park on this record. It makes me want to go and dig more Common out, you know, see if he's actually kind of dope or not. But I loved him on here. Church is pretty cool. All That Lady featuring Lil Wayne. Name Me King featuring Pusha T, Hallelujah with Jamie Foxx, Celebration, Chris Brown. I remember though. That's my favorite track. That is the crown jewel. That is what makes this record a must listen to is I Remember. Now, I Remember is one of the bonus tracks. But luckily for you, you can just stream it pretty easy as part of the record itself. It's pretty cool talking about drugs and females on that track. I Remember. It's hilarious. You got to check it out. I love the beat. And it's towards the end of the record because it's a bonus track. It's a great way to end it all out. Overall, though, this is my favorite game record. I love the topics here. It goes up and down through, women, church, and you just got to check it out for yourself. I guess it's kind of hard to explain, which is why it's one of these must-have, must-listen to, must bump before you die records. And number 2, DPGC, You Know What I'm Throwing Up, Daz Dillinger. This is an interesting record, man. This came out in 2003. The beef between him and Death Row was on. He was beefing with Corrupt, Crooked Eye, even Murder Inc. and Benzino. Daz was nuts around this time, man. He was just nuts. This era of Daz was something else. He had his own website, dpgrecords.com. He had the forum on there. And if you wanted to just get your daily troll on, you would go to dpgrecords.com, get on the forum, and fight with people. And then sometimes you would get Daz himself getting on the keyboard and, responding to people. And people were like, oh, is that really Daz? I don't know. But it was fucking hilarious. This era was Daz just nuts, man. He was crazy. He was cool, though. What's cool about this record is he has producers that are not him. Now, before you kind of frown on that, check out the guys who did it, though. We got Superfly, Fred Breck, and who else here? Meech Wells, of all people. Sean Don on here. But this is one of those cool records. It's so West Coast. The Daz got to sit down and just focus on his flow, his writing. It's not a masterpiece. There's way too many fucking skits, The difference between the CD and the streaming, the CD, I think, cut out the skits and made them their own tracks. So you could just kind of like skip them. But on the streaming, they're kind of mashed into the following songs. So it's kind of annoying. But if you can fight your way through these skits, which are mostly just like Snoop Dogg talking shit and stuff, you'll find some dope songs on here. Some of my favorites gotta be I'll Beat Your Ass, Dog Catcha. What else we got? Round and Round We Go, maybe my favorite. DPGC, You Know What I'm Throwing Up. And I got that Fire with Snoop Dogg. That's a good one. But I think that the crown jewel, the reason to check out this record, the reason I come back to it is got to be Skirt. Skirt, Skirt. It's just such a cool track, man. Who did this? Fred Reck? Yeah, Fred Reck on the beat. Daz is just having fun. He's pretty fucking creative on this album. Over 20 years later, though, you can go back and check out this album, and it's aged pretty good, It stood the test of time. Like I said, you get beyond the skits, you're going to find some classic Daz Dillinger here, mixed with production from Superfly, Fred Reck, and Meech Wells. How can you lose, right? We got some cool features like Badasses on here. Superfly, of course, Snoop Dogg. It's worth a listen. I say you check it out. The next album we have at number 3, we got Lil Kim Hardcore. This record came out in 1996, and I heard this record for the first time like this year on this show. I did an episode about just reacting to it, listening to it for the first time, and it blew my mind. I was blown away by how cool the record was. I think that the style that they were going for, that Lil Kim had, was basically that bad boy style of that flashy East Coast hip hop that was almost pop like, an R&B, not quite West Coast, but almost West Coast. That's what Lil Kim had going for her. She's a fucking excellent writer. Her flow on here is amazing. I could see why a lot of people call this record a classic. I think it's one of those records that you must have, you must listen to. It came out in 1996, November 12th. Let's see some of the reviews here. Rolling Stones album guide gave it like 4.5. The Source gave it 3.5. Mike's out of 5. It didn't do too bad. Music gave it 5 out of 10. That's cap. Right off the bat, a couple of my favorite tracks got to be Big Mama here featuring Jay-Z. And who is that? Lil C's probably. Crush on You featuring Lil C's is alright. It's pretty cool. Drugs, though, that's the best one on here. And it's neat to hear some Biggie Smalls around this record, too, here and there. But the reason you want to hear this record, for sure, has got to be Drugs. The track is phenomenal. It's crazy for me, man. I never heard it before. Maybe I did, and I just forgot about it. Who knows? Drugs, though, is the crown jewel of the record and the reason you want to check out Hardcore by Lil Kim. Number 4, Spice One, 1996. This record is the 4th album by Spice One. It was released in 1995, December 5th. Still under Jive. Producers include Blackjack, Bosco, Ant Banks. Those are some good names, man. Those are some good names. This album blew me away and really solidified me being a Spice One fan for sure. The cool part about it, 1996 Kill 'Em All, that first song features MC8, but then the last song on the record is Kill 'Em All Again, the original version without MC8. I thought that was cool. Like, nobody really does that. This thing is just a movie of guns and violence and all that shit from Spice One. The reason that you would buy a Spice One record is what you get here. Nothing crazy or whack. Some of my favorite songs on here gotta be Mind of a Sick and, Dirty Bay, 1996 Kill 'Em All. That one is classic, of course. Tales of the Ends Who Got Crept On is good. I don't know. You could probably listen to this top to bottom without skipping a track. Pretty cool shit, man. Funky Chicken, Snitch Killers. But my favorite fucking song on here is Dirty Bay. Early in the record, it's got samples of Sitting on the Dock of the Bay by Otis Redding. Every time I hear that song, played like in a grocery store or something, I always think of Spice One. My favorite song on here, maybe my favorite song Spice One has ever done. So this album was cool, man. It came out in 95. The Source gave it 3 out of 5 mics. Whatever, man. I think it's a 5 mic. Easily a 5 mic. Producers are dope. Our features are cool. MC8, Kokane, E40, and some other guys. You got to check it out for yourself, man. Do not let this record slip by your lifetime. This is Spice One, 1996. Check it out. Album number 5. Oh, we're going to Detroit, and you know it, man. It's Esham Closed Casket. This was released November 22nd, 1994. Is there any reviews on it? There is. AllMusic gives it 2.5 out of 5 stars. That's cold, man. This is one of the classic records from Detroit. Esham was always that underground guy who was horrorcore, you could say, really touched on topics of religion and God, and was not that, he was not that flattering when it came to all of that. So it's you could even say it's a scary record, man. I remember being a teenager and my girlfriend's friend stole the tape and then they gave it right back because it scared the shit out of them. No joke. So my favorite tracks on here gotta be, let's see, Mental Stress, of course, is dope. Was it Something I Said? Yeah, I Don't Owe You Shit. Premature Ejaculation, that is the song name. And Closed Casket. The crown jewel, the reason you want to hear this record, though, has got to be Closed Casket. The last song, the outro, the grand finale, tells you everything you need to know about Esham here. It's just fucking crazy listening to that record, the lyrics, the mixing, the sampling. I've said it before, man. Esham is like the king of sampling, man. The way he used to mess with samples. As he got older, he didn't sample so much because he was just producing more and being, just coming up with shit on his own without the sampling so many songs and whatever. But this album is full of samples. It's fucking crazy. 1994, Closed Casket. Check it out. This is definitely one of those albums you got to hear once before you die. Form your opinion. If you're around, let me know in the comments. if you've heard this album for the first time and how bad you fucking hate it. Because the first time I heard it, I hated this record, man. I didn't want no more devil worshiping fucking hip hop in my CDs. It wasn't until this next record where I caught on, I got on the Esham train and I understood it. It's a tough listen at first if you've never heard it. Close Casket, man. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, all right? The sixth record that you got to hear, you got to bump before you die, is from none other than Kokane, Funk Upon a Rhyme. This record came out in 1994, Ruthless Records, recorded at the Edge studio where many Ruthless artists were doing work. This record was produced by Hutch, Hutch from Above the Law, Code 187, from top to bottom, man, top to bottom. To hear Kokane do a solo at this time was just fucking crazy. He had done so many little like hooks or a verse here and there on Eazy-E and Above the Law. Spice One's record was after. I'm not sure where else he might have been, summoned to do some work, but this record was just funky, like psychedelic funk. The first time I heard it, I was like, I don't know if this is cool. I don't know if I'm down with this. This is something else. Give it a couple listens and you start to get it, man. The funk, the rhyme, the reason, all this shit from Kokane and Hutch is crazy, man. Some of my favorite songs. Let me see. Riding on the Funk, From the Funk to the Back. Mo Water is fucking dope. Slow Burning, 22.5 Fahrenheit. I don't know. I don't think there's any skips here. Don't Bite the Funk at the end, which is a Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg diss, is pretty cool. This was definitely around the time when Ruthless and Death Row were beefing. So we get that little diss track there. The record, though, or the track that is the crown jewel that you got to come back to has got to be My Day Is Coming. Man, he gets deep on that one. The hook is catchy. Just talking about karma. Just fucking karma, being nervous and all kinds of cool shit on this one. My day is coming, won't you free my mind? I won't sing again, but I love that fucking song. The cover, I've never seen a cover done like this. I mean, how creative was that cover? Kokane, the razor blade on the on that vinyl player there, that record player, Funk Upon a Rhyme. Like, it's dope. And the back of the actual CD, I remember having it, has Kokane back there dressed like a pimp or some shit, going wild. This is one of those records you got to hear once before you die. And if you hear it for the first time, let me know in the comments what you thought of it. All right? That was number 6. Numero 7. Now we getting old school now, a little bit old school, all the way from 1994 to 1992. This is Sir Mix-a-Lot Mack Daddy. This came out at a time when I remember I couldn't even drive yet, but I had some homies that were older than me and they were like cruising me around. And I was like, who knows? What was I, like 13 maybe? I mean, I could sit here and do the math. I was 14. And this record had just came out. They had the cassette and they were like driving around in this fucking Honda Accord, putting big ass speakers in it and just bumping this fucking tape from front to back, man. I remember hearing every song on this tape for the first time and just loving every song, every moment. The bass was so killer, man. It was like a monster bass fucking tape. Man, this tape brings a lot of memories back to me. But Sir Mix-a-Lot right here, he got famous off Baby Got Back. He's still getting paid from that. Like every year there's a new commercial that's using Baby Got Back. It's crazy. Not my favorite song on here, but I recognize it, man. It's historic. You can't deny Baby Got Back, right? You can't deny it. Sir Mix-a-Lot still makes the news. Who said something like Oakland face? No. LA face with an Oakland booty. Some white girl in Hollywood said that, got in trouble. Sir Mix-a-Lot came up to bat for her. Dude is dope, man. He's dope. My favorite songs on here, One Time's Got No Case, Mack Daddy, Baby Got Back, of course. What else we got? The Boss is Back, Testarossa. Man, that track number 8, Testarossa, bump that in your car, man. If you got a system, it fucking hits. And then there's always the Jack back where they're killing Nazis and Klansmen. It's hilarious. And I'm your new god, takes the perspective of cocaine. No holds barred. He gets political on guns. But the reason that you got to hear this album, besides Baby Got Back, but my opinion, the crown jewel of the record is Mack Daddy. The beat is so funky. Sir Mix-a-Lot, A Day in the Life of Sir Mix-a-Lot, so fucking dope. This whole album is just fun. This was back in the day when rap was fun. I don't even know if he curses on this record, tell you the truth. But it is one of the records that you must listen to at least once in your lifetime and just, feel that Sir Mix-a-Lot of 1992, the Mack Daddy. That was album number 7. Album number 8, going back even farther in time from 1992, and this time it's 1989. 2 Live Crew, As Nasty as They Wanna Be, the 3rd album from 2 Live Crew, but for me, the very first full-length tape that I had of them or even heard. There were a couple songs I heard like on little compilations before this record came out, but this one blew up the world. This is one of those records that left the world tattooed or scarred, however you want to look at it. This one made the difference. The fucking CD is explicit as fuck, and it didn't even get the explicit lyrics label because I don't think that it existed before this record. It's because of this record that they had to come up with the explicit lyric label. You had to be there, man. It was crazy. I remember watching TV and seeing them like on Donahue and, reports all over the news that they got arrested and it was so controversial. They're doing concerts and you're seeing women on stage and you're like, damn, man, they half naked. And at this point, what am I like 10, 11 years old? Man, the tape was being rotated around school, dubbed, and I had a cassette tape that somebody recorded it on for me. I probably had a few of them, man, hiding under my bed, checking out the tape in my Walkman, secretly while my parents are driving around and I'm in the back seat there, with my headphones on. It was something else. But everybody's got their own memories like that when you were alive in 1989 around my age and sneaking tapes, What makes this record really cool though? I mean, it's a 2-hour record. That's fucking long. I don't know how they squeezed 2 hours of music on a CD. I thought there was like a limit that was just a little bit short of that. Whatever though, man. 2-hour long record. It's still good from front to back, believe it or not. 2 hours worth of music. It's nuts, man. My favorite songs on here, Me So Horny, Put Her in the Buck, Dick Almighty. I'm just going to scroll down here, man. Coolin', the very last track, is just such a dope-ass little Coolin' track. Mega Mix was kind of just a instrumental where Mr. Mix was just sampling a bunch of shit, beats and vocals, and made something cool, man. And you know what you're getting if you're getting this 2 Live Crew shit. You're getting that X-rated rap. You're getting some of that that back and forth chanting type of shit that Luther Campbell was all about. Luther Campbell is a legend, man. He is a national treasure. I don't know what he's doing these days. I see him on the social media and people follow him and they listen to the guy, what he has to say. But I love me some Luther Campbell. He's been around for a long time. Unfortunately, Fresh Kid Ice has passed away. May he rest in peace. I believe Brother Marquise and Mr. Mix are still around, though. Mr. Mix just did an interview the other day. That was pretty cool. But hey, you got to check out the library. But if you don't, at least know that the 2 Live Crew, As Nasty as They Wanna Be, is that record. Let's say you weren't around in that time. To see rappers getting arrested for the songs that they're singing is crazy. It just blows my mind. To see Congress like making laws because of a record blows my mind. 2 Live Crew, man, they took a lot of the arrows for that shit, and the industry paved the way. And it wasn't pretty, but being there, if you were there and you saw it, man, there was nothing like it. The 2 Live Crew, love it. And finally, number 9, The Great Adventures of Slick Rick. This came out in 1988. One of the first albums that I've heard in my life. Just under an hour, but I had the cassette. This was another friend recorded the tape for me back in the day, and I was all about it. I was a Slick Rick fan ever since. I didn't know how iconic this record was going to be, The Great Adventures of Slick Rick, until I heard other rappers not biting from it, but using it as an influence, crediting Slick Rick as their influence, from Snoop Dogg to Nas. The influence of Slick Rick could be maybe the greatest influence in all of hip hop and all of gangsta rap. It might be. For me, I memorized this entire cassette like in a month or something, man. I must have played it that often. The CD, the tape. I finally bought the CD when I was, old enough, of course, and had a car. When I was a kid, the only reason my parents didn't buy this for me was because they looked at the back and Indian Girl said adult story. So I did not get the tape. I got Tone Loc instead. It's not too bad, right? But the explicit lyric sticker was not there to snitch on all these records yet. I loved this record, man. There's so many cool influences in here. My favorite songs are Treat Her Like a Prostitute, The Ruler's Back, Children's Story, of course, Let's Get Crazy, Mona Lisa, Teacher Teacher. Like the whole tape, the whole CD is like my favorite. But if there was a reason to really check this album out, it'd be easy for me to say Children's Story because there's a video for it. It's iconic. But I'm going to say Mona Lisa. That track is so cool, man. I love the way that Slick Rick writes on there, his imagination, the singing, everything. It's got soul, it's got heart, it's got feeling in that track. This whole album, though, is pretty cool, man. I listen to this record, I don't know, at least twice a year probably, and it never gets old. So Slick Rick, The Great Adventures of Slick Rick, might be where it all started for me. I don't know, man. I don't know. What about you? What did you think about this list? What do you think about Slick Rick, The Great Adventures of Slick Rick? I know we hardly really talk about Slick Rick. He's not really gangsta rap, but his influence is definitely in gangsta rap for sure. So these records have stood the test of time, and I'd love to hear your opinion on them. Leave them in the comments, whatever. This is volume 1, so don't worry. I don't think that these are the 9 greatest records of all time. Or anything like that. It's hard for me to make a list like that. There's so many fucking great records out. I'll never have time to talk about them all. So doing something like this gives me a chance to just knock out 9 and say, hey, man, check all these out. So what do you guys think? Leave your comments and check out our podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I'm out of here, man. Peace.